The war is over. That's the sentence that the world is choosing to repeat. There's a ceasefire. There is a signed agreement. There is a United Nations resolution and an American plan with 20 points for the day after in Gaza. On paper, it sounds perfect. No more rockets from Gaza. International forces on the ground making sure that everything is working. A technocratic Palestinian government. Money for rebuilding the peace. On paper, the war is over. But if you step outside this paper and look at the streets of the West, you see something completely different. In London, New York, Paris, on campuses and on city squares, you still see tens of thousands marching with Hamas flags, chanting from the river to the sea, calling for a world without Israel. Far-left movements, radical Islamist groups, and useful idiots stand together and say that they are for peace, so to speak, while glorifying the terrorists who murdered our people on October 7th. For them, the war is not over. It simply moved to a different battlefield. Images, slogans, pressure on Israel. Inside the diplomatic rooms, it's no better. Everyone talks about peace agreements, but almost no one is willing to enforce it. No one is marching into Gaza to disarm Hamas. No one is taking real responsibility on the ground. No one is physically standing between our communities in Israel and the next wave of terrorism. We have a ceasefire that no one can guarantee, a plan that no one can fully implement, and a so-called peace that once again depends on one thing: Israel taking care of Israel alone. So we're living in two parallel realities. On the scenes of the world, the war is over. Time to rebuild Gaza, time to pressure Israel. On the ground, in Israel, Hamas is rebuilding its power and its image. Hezbollah is heating up in the north. Iran collects missiles and influence across the region. The Houthis in Yemen say that they're not finished. The world wants to close the file and say, that war, it was last year. But for us, the war has simply entered its next phase. And that's why, for this episode, I chose to stand here again at the site of the Nova Music Festival. Not in a studio, not in front of a natural background. Here, where 3,500 young Israelis came to dance for peace, and Hamas terrorists turned it into a killing field. A few months after this massacre, I was already here with Dr. Phil. We walked these fields together. We heard a young woman describe how she survived by laying on their bodies while terrorists walked over them, laughing and throwing grenades into the shelter. We tried to show the world what happened here on October 7th. Today, I came back alone because while the entire world insists that the war is over, this ground is shouting that the story is not finished. From here, where the illusion of peace exploded in one night, we're going to walk into the future of this war. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is My State, a program about current events, my belief in God, and my journey in the Holy Land. Today, we're at the Nova Music Festival on the border with Gaza. If you like what we do and you're supporting the truth, please subscribe so that you'll never miss another episode of My State. Here, we stand for the truth. We fight lies, fake news, Islamic propaganda, and anti-Semitism. And together, by sharing our content, you help spread what is really happening on the ground from Israel. What is the future of this war? From the beginning, we were never in one war, but in two. A physical war with tanks, jets, special forces, and reservists, and a media war with cameras, local networks, slogans, and lies. On October 7th, Hamas attacked us with rockets, terrorists, and bullets. On October 8th, they attacked us with edited videos, fake stories, and coordinated campaigns of genocide, starvation, and apartheid. While our soldiers fought house to house in Gaza, Iran, Qatar, Turkey, and their allies invested billions in propaganda, troll farms, fake accounts, and NGOs that speak the language of so-called human rights, but repeat Hamas talking points. And at the same time, Israel, the startup nation, struggled to tell her own story clearly and emotionally. That's one of the reasons that our team created My State. We refuse to let the terrorist organizations and their supporters tell Israel's story instead of us. So if you believe in this mission, standing for the truth against propaganda, make sure to subscribe, share this content, and tell a friend. This is how you take part in the information war. Let's start with Gaza. The narrative right now is that the fighting is over. There's a plan, there's a ceasefire, we're moving to reconstruction. But the reality on the ground is more complicated and much more dangerous. Almost 2 months into the ceasefire, we see new images from Gaza. Painted corridors in the Shifa hospital, departments reopening for women and newborn babies, the Islamic University letting students back in, historic buildings being cleared and stabilized, graduation ceremonies with caps and gowns, crowded Friday prayers in damaged mosques and open streets. On the surface, it looks like people are trying to rebuild their lives. But Gazans themselves say this is a conscious move by Hamas, a psychological campaign. Hamas is saying to Israel and to the world, we are still here. We control the streets. We control the institutions. If you want to rebuild Gaza, you must talk to us. So while the world talks about the end of the war, Hamas uses the ceasefire to rebuild its governance, its legitimacy, and its myth. Parallel to this stands the American 20-point plan for the Gaza Strip. On paper, it looks ideal. About half the Strip under Israeli security control. Hamas disarmed and removed from power. A demilitarized Gaza, a technocratic Palestinian government, not a terrorist regime. An international stabilization force. Long-term reconstruction under Western and Arab supervision. If fully implemented, this plan could meet most of Israel's war goals. But there is a basic problem. It assumes Hamas can be persuaded, pressured, or brought into giving up its weapons and its power. Anyone who knows Hamas understands that will not happen voluntarily. So today, security experts speak of 3 possible futures for Gaza. Scenario 1, heavy fighting will return. The Americans eventually admit that Hamas will not disarm by negotiations. No international force will enter Gaza to fight them. Then, there is only one actor left that has both the will and the ability to dismantle Hamas: the IDF. Israel returns to a tough, high-intensity campaign. The goal? Finish the job, fully demilitarize the Gaza Strip, destroy the remaining strongholds, and clear the ground for the 20-point plan after Hamas is removed by force. Militarily, this is possible, but it means more casualties, enormous international pressure, and serious tension with Washington. Scenario 2, half fighting, half reconstruction. In this path, the plan starts in the eastern part of the Gaza Strip, the area under strong Israeli control. Temporary neighborhoods, infrastructures, schools, clinics, and local administrations are built there with an international umbrella. Civilians are moved out of the Western war zones into safer, controlled areas. At the same time, the IDF continues to fight in the West, the coastal belt, still under Hamas control, to dismantle what is left. The idea? Create a better, safer alternative for the civilians in the eastern part of the Gaza Strip, while squeezing Hamas militarily in the West until it collapses. Many in Israel see this as the best scenario, if it can be done quickly and with real American support and patience. Scenario 3, a divided Gaza, the dangerous status quo. Here, international pressure blocks Israel from returning to heavy fighting. Everyone wants to move forward, to rebuild, to lower the flames. The 20-point plan is implemented only partially. Gaza becomes de facto two entities. East Gaza, under Israeli and international oversight, more secure, slowly rebuilt. West Gaza, under Hamas control, where they quietly rebuild military power and the regime behind the new line. On PowerPoint, this might be described as a stability, so-called, but in reality, it is a slow-motion disaster. Hamas will use the Western area to rearm, reorganize, and prepare for the next war, this time from a more comfortable position, with international legitimacy and with the world already used to their continued control. Many Israeli analysts feel this is the most likely scenario, and also the most dangerous one for the long run. So when people say the war in Gaza is over, we have to be honest. No, the war has turned into a battle over which of these futures becomes a reality. Israel cannot accept the third scenario. Either we move forward with scenario 2, or if the world refuses to look reality in the eyes, we will be pushed towards scenario 1. And in all of this, there is one truth that we must repeat again and again. Israel is not fighting civilians. Israel is fighting a terrorist organization that hides behind civilians.
The Middle East is complicated. Evil thrives here and wears many faces.
But in the middle of it all is Israel, fighting terrorist regimes that glorify death.
Yet somehow, we're called the aggressor.
Because evil has hijacked the narrative and twisted the truth.
When the truth dies, freedom dies with it.
So guys, if you want to help us share the truth, donate now, stand with Israel, stand with the truth. Behind Gaza stands the same long shadow, Iran. While diplomats speak about reconstruction and stability, Iran does what it always does: fund proxies in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, and Yemen, pushes weapons and missiles closer to Israel's borders, threatens that if Israel strikes its nuclear projects again, the response will be stronger and more painful. European diplomats already say quietly they fear a high chance of an Israeli strike against Iran in the coming year, because Iran has not slowed down, it has actually accelerated. So, no, the war is not over. It is shifting fronts. From Gaza's streets to Iran's nuclear ambitions. From rockets that are fired from the north to strategic buildup across the entire region. And in the middle of this storm, there is another side that the world rarely sees, which is Israel's resilience and Israel's creativity. And in the middle of this storm, there is another side that the world is almost never seen: Israel's resilience and Israel's creativity. We are a small country, but God has given this land remarkable minds. Alongside the courage of our soldiers, we are seeing new tools that change the battlefield. One of them is the new laser defensive system, Oreitan. Iron Dome already saved thousands of lives, but each interceptor missile costs tens of thousands of dollars. A laser beam costs only a few dollars, like charging your iPhone. It doesn't run out of missiles. As long as there is power, it can keep firing. It focuses extreme energy on rockets, mortars, and drones, and destroy them in the air, often in seconds. This is no longer science fiction. It has already been tested against the kind of threats that we face from Hezbollah and other Iranian proxies. It's not a magic solution, but it is a symbol of something deep. Our enemies invest in death. We invest in life. They dig tunnels. We build technologies that protect civilians. They spread propaganda. We spread the truth. If you stand with Israel, you stand with a people that uses its creativity not to conquer others, but to defend its families, its children, and its right to exist. So again, if you believe that the world needs to hear this side of the story, make sure to subscribe to TBN Israel, like this video, and share it. That's how you join this fight for the truth. And now, I want to return to where I'm standing, here, at the Nova Music Festival site. Everything we discussed, Gaza, Hezbollah, Iran, lasers, scenarios, all of this can sound strategic and very distant. But this place reminds us what all of this is really about. It's about young people who wanted to dance under the sky. It's about parents who sent their children to a festival and never saw them again. It's about the girl who lay under bodies while terrorists laughed and threw grenades into a shelter filled with kids. Months ago, I was here with Dr. Phil. We came with one simple goal: to make sure that the world can never say we didn't know. And today, I'm here again with the same goal, but now I'm talking to you directly, because the future of this war is not decided only in the IDF's war rooms, in the Pentagon, or in the United Nations. It is also decided in living rooms, phones, laptops, in the hearts of millions who can choose what to believe. Every time a lie about Israel is accepted as truth, Hamas and Hezbollah win a small victory. Every time the truth is told about October 7th, about our soldiers, about our intentions, Israel wins a small victory. Let me say this clearly. We are not perfect. We do not do everything right. But we are no monsters, not Nazis, not colonizers. We are people that returned home after 2,000 years of exile. We went through the Holocaust and said, never again. We love life, even when we are forced to fight those who worship death. If this speaks to your heart, stand with us. Stand with the truth. Stand with Israel. Make sure to subscribe to TBN Israel, share this episode, and be part of a global community that refuses to surrender to lies, to anti-Semitism, and to terrorism. And before we finish, I want to close with a short prayer that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we ask you to protect the sons and daughters of Israel who are still serving and fighting on every border, every day. We pray for the return of all the remains of our hostages from Gaza, all of them, so that the families can complete this chapter of their life. We pray for wisdom to our leaders, to your leaders, to make the right decisions in the situation. We pray for all the innocent lives that are affected by these terrorist regimes. We pray for our enemies. We pray for the people in Gaza, the people in Lebanon, in Syria, in Yemen, to start loving the Jewish people instead of hating us. We pray for the people of Israel. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.